Jess, this might be one of the hardest conversations you're ever going to have, especially with me. Today, I want to unpack just about your journey to becoming a mother. So I know that for a lot of women out there who are either trying to get pregnant or going through, pregnancy or our mothers will probably relate to this a lot. And I believe it's a story that I've been wanting you to tell for a long time. So I thought today I'd give you an opportunity, and I want to first of all say it from my perspective. So seeing what you went through to become a mother was something that was, one, beautiful, two, also extremely inspiring, and also three, the fact that you went through that to make me a dad again was something that I'll be grateful forever.
I'm going to cry. I never thought you felt like that.
No, I definitely did. And so I just want to walk through it. So Jess, you were under the opinion that you may never ever get pregnant at a time.
Yeah, I guess at a point. So after I finished competing and I went off a birth control that I was on for far too long, I guess the goal was to just regain back my cycle more than anything else because I knew there was an element of health. I've been on contraception for a while, and I also
so when you mean
didn't know.
What do you
Oh,
know?
so like bodybuilding. So getting down to obviously like very lean body weight, reduction in micronutrients, reduction in calories, and all of those things don't necessarily go well with reproduction.
That's probably one of the misunderstood things about something like bodybuilding is like it looks like the picture of health.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people know now it's not necessarily a really healthy thing, but it's almost the furthest from it. And that shows up often in the female physiology.
100%. And then a lot of people aspire for competing for a look, and it's a good challenge. Like I thoroughly enjoyed every aspect of it. And because I was already on a contraception that didn't allow me to have a cycle, I didn't really think anything different. So it wasn't ever something that was on my brain. I also didn't want kids. But as I was getting older, I realized, okay, I probably need to focus on this now that I'm no longer competing. And I went off the contraception and I started to get regular blood work, like at least every 6 months to figure out either, where am I sitting, where are my hormones sitting, where's my micronutrient levels sitting after going through a really big deficit for my previous comp. And then I was doing things which I thought was right after 6 months, and there were no changes in my levels. Hired a coach after another 6 months. We tried a lot of different things like increasing calories, including different supplements, looking at some Chinese medicine, looking at a few different types of approaches for it. And then after around 12 months of that approach, still nothing. Like my levels were still tanked in terms of my female hormones. And then I decided to do a lot more research into it, and I found a method that probably isn't as popularized or even understood, and that's by reducing all stress in your life. So anything that's stressful, your training, any type of jobs that are causing too much stress, and then eating well in excess of your maintenance and surplus levels. So for me, that was around 3,000 calories. And I guess after a good 2 years of attempting everything that I knew possible to do this, in the best possible way, it wasn't working. And I was just getting sick of it. So I was like, oh, this is the only option that I haven't tried to do. And that was a really rough, I would say overall 12 months. I got my cycle back in the first 8 months, but going through not training, and training for me is a mental health outlet. And then I just started with you at the gym at Evolved, and then going through a period where you're coaching women to be healthier, and most of them wanted to lose weight. And here I am gaining weight. Here I am. I didn't even look like I wasn't working out. And then to go into, even though it was a female environment, it was very safe, for me not looking how I've always looked, gaining all this weight, having, breakouts from eating extra food, not training, so my mental health started to tank. It was the most healthiest I've ever been. And it was a time where I avoided mirrors every day. Like, we were in an apartment that they didn't have full-length mirrors, which I was so thankful for, because I just didn't want to look at myself. I had to buy different clothes, and then gaining back the cycle, it was obviously a very big relief, but the journey wasn't over. I still have to go through a lot of processes. But the journey wasn't necessarily to become a mother initially. It was to simply regain back something that a female should have, which is their menstrual cycle. And yeah, it was rough, and it still is rough, because now I always have this in the back of my head. If I lose it again, do I have to go through the same process?
Let's unpack it. So that was a very, very condensed version of like quite a like intensive sort of journey.
Yeah.
So that was over the space of how long were you competing for?
Probably about 5 years.
Yeah, and in that time, constant deficit, refeed.
Yeah, the normal
lot of stress.
yo-yo. So like
What is normal
build.
so people can actually understand what this looks like?
So for me, I came into competing with not a lot of muscle mass, and I just dieted down. I was just like a skinny person on stage, and at that time, with a natural competition, it was an okay look to have. And then to gain muscle mass, you need to eat more. And then there's a process from a bodybuilding perspective is, eat more food, train really hard, grow some muscle mass. And then you diet back down for a show, eat more to gain more muscle mass, and you diet back down for another show. And it was this consistent cycle. I'm not going to call it a yo-yo, because I wasn't going backwards and forth from a mental health perspective, but from a goal-based perspective. And that does a lot of things to a hormone, to your, I guess, to hormones that already aren't there, because...
What was the specific symptoms that you had, and what was the specific condition that led to?
Yeah, so I didn't really have any symptoms. I was, for me, thriving. Like, I was at a not too of a lean position after I competed. It's like when I started Evolved, I loved my physique. I thought it was fantastic. I had a really good relationship with myself, a relationship with training. So there was no real symptoms apart from not having a menstrual cycle.
And that was called?
Hypothalamic amenorrhea, or HA for short.
And what is that?
It means you've got your cycle at one point in your life, and now you don't have it. So you no longer have a period. And then it happens to a lot of women who are athletes as well, where they're training for like large hours. Like, a lot of Olympians will also lose their menstrual cycle just from a stress perspective. I believe it's called REDS. And then competitors, not all competitors, but a lot of competitors will lose their cycle, but it shouldn't stay lost, or you should be able to regain it back within 2 to 3 months post-comp. And a lot of women don't realise how important that is post-comp.
And so from that, like you said that you were looking to not necessarily regain your cycle to get pregnant, but because of that as a warning sign.
Yes.
What did that thought process lead you? Why did you want to go down that route of trying to get your cycle back?
It's because I knew I think at the back of my head, I was like, oh, what if I want to have kids and I can't? Mm-hmm. It wasn't probably the first thought, but for me, it was simply a picture of health. And after going through competing, I just wanted to be the healthiest that I could be and come off all contraception, because after doing a lot of research, and then with my clients as well, doing a lot of research for them, and really figuring out that most birth controls are horrendous for the female body in terms of what they do. Now, I'm not going to say all, because there are always going to be certain situations, particularly perimenopausal women or women with PCOS. But for a majority of women, it is a terrible thing to have in our body, synthetic hormones, and it doesn't help the body understand the hormonal needs. And when you come off it, your body can do some drastic things. So I really wanted to gain it back just to be a picture of health. So be able to train, eat good, and just be a healthy woman. And then obviously later on, if we did decide to have kids, then that was an option there as well. And I didn't have to wait till I was 35 to realise I couldn't have kids, to figure out, okay, what do I need to do now?
Cool. And yeah, I think that's very important for a lot of like women in particular to know. And even, I guess, if any guys listen to this and they're sort of wanting to support their partner for it, is like, seen you go through all of that, you know, and like you're like, I don't know what you thought during it, but I was pretty unfazed. I was like, I understand why you're doing this, because from a perspective, like when I first met you, like I liked you for you. which is a bonus.
Well, that's nice. I just thought you'd like me because I was hot.
Yeah, and and obviously that though as well, like you're an attractive lady, but then obviously you had to go through where, you didn't train. You put on, I think, 20, 30 kilos, was it?
Yeah, between 15 and 20. And like, I was like, this guy is going to leave me. I'm disgusting. Why would he want to be with someone that's so big?
Here's the thing, like, maybe this would be a good point for a woman as well. I was like, what I seen from that is your ability to like, hey, I have something I have to do here. I'm prepared to do what it takes, but also I have to work through it. And I know it's going to be challenging, all of that sort of stuff. And it just showed me how much grit you had. And like that ability to just do what needs to be done, but also for a bigger thing outside of vanity, I thought it was incredible. So I think if like for women as well, it was like going through that process is like I definitely didn't find you attractive, like not attractive. So it was like I fell more and more in love with you. I seen as you were going through this process, I thought it was pretty amazing. And then what I seen is when you were hiring the different coaches, so you went through hormone replacement therapy at one point?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
can you maybe explain that process a bit?
so after I was with the coach, and he's fantastic. He tried everything that he knew possible to help get things back, and nothing was working.
What are the things that you tried?
So it's he recruited a guy that did Chinese medicine. So I took some different herbs, some sort of female health herbs, increased my calories to around like 2,500. It took me a long time to eat that amount of food, if I'm honest, because I wanted to stay lean, and leanness was an identity for me. Like being on social media, everyone's only ever known me lean. So I really hung on to that identity piece there. And that's probably why it took a little bit longer for me to get through this process, because I stayed lean for probably too long, simply from a vanity, or I guess an identity perspective. And then when he said, hey, there's nothing else I can do, which was very noble of him. He obviously didn't want to, like, that's how you know you've got a good coach. And then I went and saw a gynecologist and gave all of her stuff, and she still wasn't too sure why things were happening the way that they were happening. And I was explaining this process that I read online through Dr. Rinaldi, which is the all-in method, which is what I've just mentioned there. So all the stress deleted, increase the foods until you get your period back, essentially. And then she put me on HRT because she thought if I wasn't training and I didn't have any, so if I was still doing some exercise, which I wasn't, and I wasn't producing hormones, then I have an issue with bone mass. So she put me on HRT to help with the synthetic estrogen and synthetic progesterone. And she gave that to me, and it didn't really respond quite well to me. I blew up quite a lot in terms of inflammatory perspective. And then I had what we call a breakthrough bleed, which is not a period, but kind of like a fake period. And then when that happened and I realized, well, maybe I'm actually closer than I think to getting my period back, and maybe I've jumped the gun into going to HRT. So I stopped the HRT, which was a wild ride. And then within 6 weeks of stopping that, I got my first cycle back. So
I actually remember saying to you, and I don't know if you remember this, you obviously do, is I said, Jess, have you just tried stopping for a minute?
No, I have not. Not since I was 13. I've had 3 jobs since I was 13.
I truly believe in, like, I'm no expert in this realm at all, but when you're trying everything, sometimes it's about trying nothing.
Well, that's what it was. And, like, I know that's not going to be everyone's story.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's other research that's come out that I'm sure that there's going to be other avenues, but it is a energy availability issue from a hypothalamic amenorrhea.
It makes sense from an evolutionary perspective.
Yeah.
Like, you look at it too as like, especially I think you'd probably find this quite common in high performance women, where it's like you're always 100%. On, always driven, wanting to be successful.
Yeah.
Do you have to be? This is the question, but
I believe so. Like, you have to have that high level of functioning. Like, you have to have obviously you have to have that time for rest, but people don't build $1 million businesses by not working weekends and not working evenings.
No, I agree. But in terms of your physiology,
Yeah.
it was like you're under a lot of stress here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it really took you to step back and stop for that to come back.
And I was under a lot of stress with already suppressed hormones.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this would have happened if I wasn't on the contraception, if it would have been such a drastic thing. But I think having no hormones from a contraception and then going into such a sharp, deep deficit for such a long period of time for this last prep, I think it was just an accumulation of all those things that made it real, like, I guess, bad in that essence or that sense. But it taught me, obviously it taught me a lot about you. It taught me a lot about me. And then it also made me become a better coach because I was able to relate to clients a little bit better around what it feels like to not want to look at yourself, to not want to do the things that you did previously because you don't feel yourself, or to not want to go out because you don't want to wear clothes that are bigger and you don't want to go out and buy clothes that are bigger because it's just a slap in the face because people, what are people going to say? You don't look like the way that you did before. What's their initial thought when they see you? If you're like 20 kilos heavier, are they going to think, oh, she's let herself go? And all these things come into your head. And I guess the biggest thing was I was a coach. Like I was seeing women every day and telling them to be, to be stronger and to be healthier. And to me, I envision coaches as being, a representative of health. And that's not necessarily a look. But the way I was eating was what I would deem unhealthy, but it had a purpose. So it was a really big mindset process to go through as well. But then I guess full circle from that, I was able to get healthier after having Rose, to start training again. And I know that if people are in a situation that I was, just stop training and eating, say for example through COVID, you can get back to what you would like to from a physique perspective, whatever that looks like for you.
Going through all this process, you're lying on the labour table and you hold your daughter. You hold your daughter for the first time.
What about it?
How did that make you feel? I
Honestly,
want you to think about it.
It was just, I think I was like, yeah, I did it more than anything else. Because I didn't, one, I never thought I'd have kids. Mm-hmm. And two, it was just a blessing moment more than anything. I guess it's kind of hard to explain, but it was more like, yeah, we did it more than anything else. Mm-hmm. I was like, yes.
Yeah, cool. And going through all that process now and having a baby girl and then being a mum, what lessons do you take from all of that?
I guess probably the biggest thing is understand your red flags, and sometimes knowing that being the leanest ever, and I know it's not healthy, but health should overcome most things. I guess with Rose, I'm very conscious about how I'm speaking to her already, being like, we eat to be strong, or we're going to be strong today. And if I'm eating something different and she's like, oh, what's that? I explain to her, it's because mummy needs food, mummy needs fuel. Rather than, my mum didn't do it, but I know a lot of people going through the 80s and 90s around that yo-yo dieting of I need to eat less because mummy's on a diet, or I need to do this. I never want to put that upon her to be like, I'm going to tell her I'm eating less because I'm on a diet. It's like I'm doing this for a particular goal, or I'm eating this way because of something that is a no negative association to it, so that she doesn't, I guess, attach a look to health.
For women that are going through this process, what would you recommend the steps to take?
If they currently have HA, or
or looking at this process of,
I guess hormones are a very important thing, and I think it's a big topic at the moment. I think there's a lot of discussion around balancing hormones, and the people probably don't even know what that actually even means. And I guess if you're having an issue from a hormonal function, is address, go and do your research, go and find out about it. If you have PCOS or hypothalamic amyloid, go and do your own research, because then you can come up with your own take on things, and then find experts and coaches in that area who have either gone through the same process or are experts in this process to help you through this, because your brain's not going to want to do a lot of the things that are necessary for you to achieve some of the goals, and you're not going to know a lot of the things. So if you're in a hormonally off position, one, do your research. Two, find coaches and doctors that you work well with, because you're going to find people that you don't. And give it time. Like, hormones aren't fixed or mended in like 6 weeks. Like, it just doesn't happen that way. So allow yourself some time, and then know that blood work can show so many insights into what's going, not just from a hormonal perspective, but from a micronutrient perspective. And when I was going through my cycle, I went like really hard in understanding blood work, and if this is high and this is low, what does that mean? There's an inefficiencies of two biomarkers talking to each other. So do your research, or find someone to help you do that research with you, and then know there is always an answer. We just have to find it.
And also just allow yourself to be who you are during that journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is an up and down journey, and it's challenging. But as you said, having someone there to guide you, but also like embracing that process, embracing that journey and getting through it.
Because you're going to want to quit at some point. It's like, it's what's not working. Well, it is working. It needs that more time, unfortunately. So that'll be how I'd wrap that up.
Sweet, cool.